Hello, in this video we are going to know and learn about WebSockets, the need and the purpose of WebSockets. But before we go into WebSockets, let's see the timeline of how the web communication evolved over a period of time. So around 1995 is when the HTTP protocol was introduced, and as you know, HTTP is a request response protocol. What does it mean? It means that we have a client, let's say this is a client browser, and we have a server, let's say this is a server. So the client sends a request to the server, and based on the request, the server gives a response back to the client. So this is basically the request response protocol. But there is a need where the client wants to have a persistent communication with the server. Client needs to have a persistent communication with the server. So how to do that? First, what is the use case of a persistent communication? So for example, you are working on chat application. Somebody sends a chat message to another person. That chat message should be immediately relayed because it has to be real time, near real time as possible. So that's where in around 2000, HTTP polling becomes common for real-time updates. We shall see what is HTTP polling. HTTP polling had its own disadvantages. So around 2004, we came up with a concept of HTTP long polling. And this both of them have problems. We are going to see what problems they have. So around 2008 is when the concept of WebSockets came in picture. It became a RFC around 2011, and it is prominent since 2011. So let's start with the polling. So we discussed earlier that there is something called as a HTTP polling, which was used for near real-time communication. So what happens in HTTP polling? The client would ask for the request and they will request for the updates, and the request would come back to the client, and they will keep on making these polling. They will keep on making this request every n number of seconds. It can be 1 second, it can be 1 millisecond, whatever is the configurable time. Based on that time, the polling would keep on continuously going on. So it is never ending polling process. So this has, like, you have to open a connection every time, you have to close the connection every time. It has lot of latency, because how do you decide whether it should be 1 second that you have to wait, it should be 5 seconds you have to wait, or it should be 50 seconds that you have to wait? So it has latency, it has resource issues and limited interactivity. And same problems are there in long polling also, but long polling was little better than the HTTP polling. Here what used to happen was the client would again request for updates, but server would not revert back or reply back unless there is some response available for the client. So the client would send a request to the server, and server would hold the connection until new data is available. And the moment the data is available, server would respond to the client immediately, and client would get the data, and subsequently client is going to send another request to keep the connection alive. So now there is a new connection the client has established again. So now again what is happening is that there is a connection open, connection close kind of scenario which is happening. Again, it's the latency is much better than the HTTP polling, because the moment the data is available, it is made available to the client. There is no intervals like 1 second, 5 seconds that the client has to wait for, but it is still resource intensive. So now we have seen the need for the WebSockets. What exactly are WebSockets? WebSockets are communication protocol that provides full duplex persistent connection. So what is full duplex? Full duplex means client can also send the message to the server, and server can also send the message to the client. So any point of time they are both free to send messages to each other. And persistent, what is the meaning of persistent? That means the connection lasts forever, unless there is an error, network error which happens. For that you have to do a error handling. Otherwise it is persistent connection between client and the server. Unlike HTTP, which is request response based, WebSockets allow both sides to send and receive data independently and continuously over the same connection. So then we go to how these WebSockets work. So first there would be a handshake, there would be a persistent connection which would be established, and subsequently bidirectional communication shall be established. What are the key features? We have already seen them. Full duplex, both client and server would be able to send messages simultaneously. Low latency, there is no need to re-establish connections after each message. Efficient, it is less overhead than HTTP polling or long polling. And real time, perfect for live updates, notifications and streaming. What are the use cases? Chat applications, live sports scores, stock market tickers, multiplayer games, collaborative tools like Google Docs. For example, in collaborative tools, what happens is if I am making some change to the Excel sheet and it is shared with my colleague, he would also be seeing my changes at the real time. Same thing happens with the Excel as well. The Microsoft 360 also, same thing happens. If you have a shared file, you would be able to see the updates made by your peer on the real time with the help of these WebSockets. So now we are going to run a program which is based on these WebSockets. To run the same program at your end, you would need to have the node installed in your machine, which you can install from here. I'm going to put this link on the description. Subsequent to that, you have to install the WebSocket package as well. How you can install it? Using the node package manager, you can just say npm install ws and WebSocket package shall be installed. So let's see the server side code first, and then we are going to come to the client side. So we are saying we are basically importing the WebSocket library. Subsequent to that, we are creating the WebSocket server, which is listening on port 8080. When the server connection is established, we would say the client connected. The moment the client has established a connection, you will be seeing the client connected message. And when you receive the message, when the server receives the message, it will log that it has received the message and it will write what message it has received, and it is going to revert back on the same socket connection to the client. It is going to revert back that it has received this message, and on the close it is going to say that the client is disconnected. Okay, so very simple program. So there are first thing is opening the WebSocket. Second thing is client getting connected to the WebSocket. And the third thing is the bidirectional messages, where client is sending message and the server is responding that it has received the message. So that's what we are going to see. Now, if we go to the client side code, so this is the client side code. It is saying that where is the WebSocket which has to be connected? Where is it located? So it is in localhost 8080, the same this port 8080 which we had used earlier, and localhost refers to the local machine. So my local machine, because it is running on the local machine, in the real live environment, it would be some host name, some IP address which would be written here. And then on open, once the connection has been opened, it will say that connected to the local server, and then it would send a message. The message is very simple: hello from browser. And when it receives a message from the server, it would say server says, and it would put the data there, what server had sent. On close, it is going to say disconnected. On error, it is going to show the error message. Okay, this is a simple thing which I would show you running from the browser. The another thing which I have done here is I have written a little bit more comprehensive program here, wherein something similar happens. Again, we are connecting to the same server on 8080. Then we create a read line. Read line is basically again another package wherein you are able to read the whole line and process the whole line. And the standard input and standard output has been used for input and output. I'm not going to output anything, but input, standard input, which means whatever you will type on the console, subsequently you will press enter, that would be captured by this read line. And when it receives a message, this client is going to say that received a message. On the connection open, once the connection has been established, it will say connected to server, then please enter your name, and subsequently whenever you type a line and press enter, that line, whatever you have written and press enter, that would be sent to the server. Along with that, what I'm doing is whatever name the person has typed, so I'm capturing username so that we know from which console window, which user we have received this message. Okay, and socket.send is responsible for sending the message to the server. On connection close, something similar, we are saying that disconnected from the server. So let's now run this program. I'll run it both from the console and from the web browser as well. So I'm in the folder where this program has been written. Like I said, I have already done the node install, and I have done the npm ws also, npm install ws WebSocket also. Now if I say node server.js, okay, so what happened? The server has started listening on this specific port. So now I can also run the client code. I have opened 3 windows. Now I'm on the second window. I'll say node client.js. Subsequently, it is going to tell here that client is connected. If you see the server window, it has told client connected, and it is asking me to enter the username. So let me say Ravi. So it says it received the message, and subsequently the server sent back that was the same message which it receives, the same message it sends back also. If I say hi, how are you? So the message is received from Ravi. Hi, how are you? Here, let's say I open it one more time. I would connect another client to the same server. So now there is one more client which is connected, and one more connection has been established. So it was Ravi here. Here I would say Jason. Now I say hi. Okay, so Jason is saying hi, I am speaking from Turkey. So that's where the messaging has been established. Now if I have to run the same thing from the web, so what I would first do is I am going to copy the web command. Let me do that. So I press and it get copied. I'll open a browser window, and I'm going to open the console. So the easiest way to open the console is you go to the inspect, and in the inspect you go to the console, and in the console whatever I had copied, I would just paste it. Okay, so if I go to the server code, it would say that one more client has connected, and this message I sent from the client, hello from browser. So hello from browser is being reflected here. Now I can send more messages here. So let me write socket.send, and it says the server should have received the same message, hello, I am sending from the Google window. So now what we see here is it's a bi-directional. The moment I send a request to the server can respond with anything. For now, I'm just relaying the same message, but it could be some processing, post some processing. The server may be sending some data back to the client. And we have also seen that multiple clients are connected to the server at the same time. So we see persistent connection, the connection still open. We can still send bidirectional messages. We can send bidirectional messages from multiple clients to the same server. And this is showing us the real power of WebSockets. Thank you.